Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! Background: I'm a very baby-faced 18-year-old male. Anyways, I was going to do some grocery shopping as my dad wanted me to buy some things to cook. Since I was smoking and knowing I will be there for quite some time, I decided to have a smoke, and that's what I exactly did. But halfway through my cigarette, a guy with a very muscular body approaches me. He looks me straight in the eye, and the following conversation happens. "Hey, what's up?" I said that as gently as possible.
"Don't you even pretend you're not a crackhead, you jerk. I know what you're up to. You're selling drugs to the children around here. I've seen you do for quite some time."
Note: in my country, Turkey, drugs are pretty much not allowed, as it's illegal. You can even face jail time if you are carrying a packet. At this point, I was confused as hell, trying to tell that I am not that guy who he thinks I am. I have never used any kinds of drugs before. You're probably… He cuts me off and says,
"No, I've seen you selling some. Don't you even dare lie to me."
At that point, I was furious, as my parents are both doctors, and I probably know better than this guy what drugs do to a human. Now I was there, scared of this guy, and he looked like he was bodybuilding. Cause well, he had way too much muscles. What I didn't know is that he did not have any kind of martial arts education. So I did the only logical thing there. As my smoke finished, I put it down and walked away. And this guy holds my arm so I can't go anywhere. Like I said, I was furious. I punched straight in the face, right in the top of the nose. His nose started to bleed and he tried to punch me. Little did he know I had some martial arts experience, unlike him. Not much, maybe like for 4 months. I used it as my advantage and arm locked him. And then I used my leg to get some leverage and just shoved him onto the ground. The people around me had already called the police, and by the time I put the guy down on the floor, they approached, running, asking what was going on. I explained to them the situation, then the people who saw the whole ordeal backed me. He then told the officers I was lying, and that I was underage smoking, since I was very baby-faced. The police came around, asked me for my ID, I gave them and they verified I wasn't underage. So I was good. The guy was livid as he didn't see me in handcuffs. He later told me that I was smoking weed or something, and they checked the security cameras. They saw me pulling a cigarette out of a black box. In Turkey, all cigarettes are packed the same box, except the name under the box. Then they realized it was just a cigarette. Judging by the look of the cigarette I put in my mouth, it's yellow filtered. Then they told me to go with them as they needed to listen to the whole story. I go to the police station, called my dad, and then explained everything. After all of the procedures were done, they asked me if I wanted to press charges, and I said yes. They handled the situation with the guy, and then I left the police station. About a month or 2 later, I saw him at the grocery shop. When he saw me, he turned red, and he stormed out. I was 14 when this happened. It was during chemistry when we had to go to the lab to learn about neutralization of acid and alkali, simple stuff really. So the class was arranged in a way that I'm sitting directly in front of my entitled classmate. I couldn't switch because we were arranged via index number and cross-gender and a bunch of other factors. Basically, I can't change my seat. On our desks we had, as far as I can remember, a bunch of bottles containing chemicals, mainly alkalis and acids. Weak acid, but, well, it's acid. The entitled kid was a classic I don't care about school boy, and constantly getting into trouble for talking in class, disrupting lessons, not handing in homework, you get the point. Everyone has had this one person in class before, right? The class goes on as usual until the male chemistry teacher confronts the entitled kid about why he isn't doing the experiment. It's just simple adding acid into alkali and seeing something happen. But the entitled kid simply just ignores the teacher. The teacher gets a little frustrated and says things like, "Do the experiment, help your partner. It was pair work, and stop being lazy." The entitled kid simply replied,
"Go away."
The teacher continued to pester him to do the experiment for a good 2 minutes. Then the kid got super triggered and smashed the table before swiping away the bottles of chemicals, which unlikely got me splattered in what I believe was dilute sulfuric acid according to one of my friends. I thought I was going to die because I could feel the acid dripping from my hair. My hair was quite long and was able to be in contact with my back. So basically my whole back was covered in the acid. And the bottles we were given were only 5mm, but I can feel my whole back drenched. The teacher pulled the entitled kid by the arm and forced him outside the lab while the female teacher brought me to the bathroom to wash away the acid that probably is already eating into my flesh right now. It was scary. Like a snake slithering on your back. I got rinsed, then had a few red spots on my back and got cream or something applied from the general office. My mother fetched me home to see a doctor. Nothing fatal really. The day after the lab lesson, I was called to the discipline master's office with the entitled kid, his mom, and both teachers. My mother couldn't be there as she got a part-time job at a supermarket. The discipline master said, according to reports from the teacher as well as some of the entitled kid's classmates, your child splattered acid over this girl right here and got an outburst of anger in class. The entitled mother replies,
"So, does that seem to be a problem? Why not just ask her to not sit in front of my kid then?"
Excuse me? It's not like I can change my own seat. If I could, I would, definitely, because I wouldn't want to be around the entitled kid. Nevertheless, your son has hurt her and reacted aggressively against the teacher. We have concluded 5 days in-house suspension. Basically, detention from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. I was hoping for a cane, but that works too, I guess. The entitled mother's face was red and the entitled kid still had that whatever look on his face. I'm just blankly laughing in my head. The entitled mother, her kid and me were told to leave while the teachers remained to do some writing on a kid report book or something. As we got out of the discipline master's office, the entitled mother just slapped me on the face, leaving a huge red mark on my cheek. The entitled mother yells,
"Why did you get my son suspended?"
Now, I'm a shy, quiet girl and I never get into situations like this, so I'm just baffled thinking of what to say. And the entitled mother simply gives me another slap and I fall on the ground. I'm about to break into tears at that point when the discipline master storms out of his office and loudly asks, "Both of you, you need to leave now," pointing his words at the entitled mother and the entitled kid. The entitled mother still had the courage to scream into the discipline master's ears,
"It's her fault my son is in suspension."
The discipline master was about to call security at that point when the teachers also came out and asked, "What is going on?" The entitled mother just screams,
"This is the absolute worst discipline master I have ever seen. You made my son receive suspension when this..."
He cuts her off and quietly says, "Ma'am, you have one last chance to get out of the school grounds before I expel your child." The entitled mother says with absolute confidence,
"You can't do that."
And I really don't think the discipline master can, because by law, school is mandatory though. I guess the entitled kid can be moved to another school. I'm not a politician though. Two security guards at the school gate came up and asked what was happening. The discipline master simply asked him to take the entitled mother and her kid away, and the security guards dragged them out of school. All the while, the entitled mother was calling the discipline master out for unfair discipline. And for this whole time, the kid still had that "I don't care about anything" look on his face, other than a few devil smiles thrown out randomly. I was completely fine after that, and the acid burns left after a few weeks. Last I heard, the kid was transferred to a private school and probably didn't get his 5-day suspension. I heard rumors that private schools gave discipline cases based on income from the family. So he's probably going to be hell for the students in that school because his parents are quite well off. Update. After seeing many of you suggest that I get my mother to press charges against the entitled mother for slapping me multiple times at school, I talked to my mom about it and we're intending to file a report once mom gets a day off. Thank you all for the support and genuine advice. I was a squad leader in charge of 9 humanoids at the time. We had semi-recently returned from a deployment from arguably the worst neighborhood in Baghdad, Iraq. I had received Aaron a couple months prior to the deployment. He performed superbly during airborne operations, field training exercises, and live fire exercises. The kid was great, away or confined from civilization. However, Aaron was nothing but trouble when he was free to his own devices. We had a surprise urinalysis during one of our training exercises, and guess who pissed hot? Aaron. He was a stellar soldier though, and the entire organization fought to keep him due to the upcoming deployment. Maybe we could change him. The deployment was 15 months long, longer than any other deployment I have been on before. There was a 2-week rest and recuperation leave, vacation, for each soldier during the deployment due to the lens. We decided who and when would go on vacation early in the deployment. We had planned for Aaron to go towards the later half of the deployment in hopes of him maturing as a soldier and human. 10 months later, it was time. Aaron seemed like he had turned the corner and started to mature. He was no longer a breaking case of war-only soldier. His team leader, direct supervisor, myself, and a platoon sergeant in charge of 42 humanoids had sat Aaron down and counseled/talked him on our expectations. You see, Aaron had compiled a stack of cash due to the deployment. He was making more than $3 grand a month, and also re-enlisted and received a $20,000 tax-free due to deployment bonus. The kid was sitting on $50,000. We knew it, and boy did he know it. Some background about Aaron. He was raised by his mother and they were literally dirt floor poor. Running water was not a thing at his house. He grew up in the backwoods of North Carolina and Tennessee. His father was only sporadically in the picture. The army was the only thing going for him. Now this kid had money, lots of it, and we were about to set him free into the world for 2 weeks. The kid was let off the leash for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Much to our surprise, he wasn't arrested, or at least he wasn't caught breaking any laws. However, he had some stories to tell when he returned. Aaron reconnected with his father. Aaron met the love of his life. Aaron bought his dad a truck. Aaron bought himself a truck. Aaron bought himself a 4-wheeler. Aaron bought his dad a gun. Aaron bought himself a gun. Aaron is freaking broke again. No worries though, we semi-expected this to happen, at least the kid was on a leash again. Maybe we can work the crazy out of this kid over the next 5 months. Pre-deployments. We returned home and returned to our normal army lives. Months go by and we have no issues with Aaron. And we have another urinalysis. There is no reason to expect anything and Aaron is acting normal. We casually joke around about the last urinalysis and he exclaims that he is a changed man now. Good. The next day at work, Aaron is late. At least we think he is late. We ask his friends, but nobody knows where he's at. Now Aaron is not unaccounted for with a failure to report. We continue to ask his closest friends if there is anything we should know. Nick, his closest friend, informs us that he just received a text in which Aaron stated, "Screw this, I am not coming back." Great. Now this jerk is absent without leave. This is just a giant freaking hassle now. There are certain things we have to do in the situation, such as clear his room, and the first sergeant, big boss, and the entire platoon leadership go to Aaron's room to inventory the remaining positions, put them in storage, and prepare the room for future soldiers. This is typically a mundane process. Not Aaron's room though. This kid was an odd cat. Evidently, he only packed the essentials during his hurry to quit the army. This list of things found in his room went something like this: an Xbox, a PlayStation, a camera, leather stuff, more than anyone should ever own, and so much alcohol. This list goes on and on with numerous things findings did not expect. Time for a funny side story. Brandon, the squad leader, was scrolling through the camera. He had a grin on his face. Dare you take a pull from the Jack Daniels bottle? Brandon challenges Ed. He's a rules guy. No, we are working. Coward. Just take a swig. I'll pay you $20. No, we are on duty. They go back and eventually First Sergeant, the big boss, states, "I don't care if you drink it or not. Stop being a jerk." What the heck? Ed then takes a giant swig of Jack. Now the ward is laughing uncontrollably on the floor. Tears are streaming down his face and he cannot even pause to speak because he's laughing so hard. Ward calms down and says, "Look, what were we greeted with? A picture. A picture of a Jack Daniels bottle where Aaron is peeing in it. There is no way in hell that Fincher will ever be watertight again." We all had a good laugh, minus Ed. Months pass and we are now doing expert infantry badge testing. Large hands-on testing for some shiny metal, and I had my crew of 3 soldiers. We get on the topic of Aaron during breaks and in between testing candidates. Not only did Aaron hassle us with his departure from the army, but he sent emails to the leadership embellishing war stories and did out lying about events. The kid wasn't even in the army anymore, but he was still making our lives difficult. I wanted revenge. We wanted revenge. Out of nowhere, Nick, a soldier, informs us that Aaron still talks to him via text. What? That's freaking great. Where is he? What is he doing? Have you seen him? We need to learn more. We coached Nick into finding out where he is. Start slow, don't make it too overt. It took 3 weeks of coaching to finally get them to link up together. They met in a random town in North Carolina, and Aaron didn't want Nick to know where he lived yet. Fine by us. We continued to orchestrate meetings in neutral locations, until Nick is trusted enough to spend the weekend at Aaron's place in Charlotte, North Carolina. Great, we have an address now. Then Nick drops a bomb on us. Aaron lives with his dad and he's balls deep in the family business. You see, he reconnected with his father because his father had just been paroled. His father became a self-made man after that. Aaron and his father were doing well for themselves financially. Family business venture? Yeah, it was myth. Nick stated that he never wanted to go back to Aaron's house again. He lived on a cul-de-sac in a not-so-good part of town. One would assume that neighbors would not be too keen on having a myth house in the neighborhood, but the neighbors were mostly customers, so it worked out. The house was full of myth heads, needles, and junky chaos. What did we do? What any good citizen would do. I called the Charlotte Police Department and informed them in great detail of our little situation. I wanted Aaron to pay for his sins, the lies he told and the hassle he put the organization through, especially after we fought for him. The plan? We didn't want Nick at the house, didn't want him getting mixed up or worse during the raid. Our idea was to have Nick meet Aaron at Dave & Buster's restaurant/arcade. The Charlotte Police Department would detain him at Dave & Buster's and eventually turn him over to us, the army. The plan worked incredibly and the police were happy to oblige. They went the whole 9 yards to help out. We, army peeps and plainclothes cops, parked outside Dave & Buster's and allowed Aaron to enjoy his last meal as a free man. While we sat and exchanged war stories and Aaron ate, the narcotics unit was raiding Aaron's house. They were not too happy about the family business. Villains are not supposed to cook meth or have firearms. His father was cuffed and stuffed. We were not done yet. We wanted to twist the knife. Aaron was greeted by 4 plainclothes cops after paying the bill. The look on his face was priceless. It became more priceless when he saw his old workmates and knew we set him up. The icing on the cake, the narcotics unit brought his father to Dave & Buster's so they could ride in the same car, the patrol car that would take them both to jail. I hope he enjoyed bonding with his father. The Charlotte police charged Aaron and his father with numerous felony charges. We were finally able to get him off our books with a court-martial and dishonorable discharge. They both went to jail.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.